Hello and welcome English learners to another English video. Today we will be going over some grammar. Specifically, we will be talking about reciprocal pronouns. Now, that may sound like a mouthful. It might sound like a difficult concept, but really it is not. And in English, we have only two reciprocal pronouns, and we will learn how and when to use those two reciprocal pronouns in this video. Keep watching. So, what is a reciprocal pronoun? A reciprocal pronoun is used to show that two or more individuals or things are doing the same thing or acting in the same way towards or with the others. In English, we have two pronouns that could be classified as reciprocal pronouns. Those pronouns are each other and one another. Both are two words. So in this lesson, we will discuss when and how to use these two reciprocal pronouns. Let's take a look at these two sentences. Gerald gave Harry a present, and Harry gave Gerald a present. The action of giving a present was done by both Gerald and Harry. And not only was this action done by both Gerald and Harry, but Gerald was the recipient of Harry's present. Gerald received Harry's present. And Harry was the recipient of Gerald's present. Harry received Gerald's present. So both Gerald and Harry did the same action for the other. These are reciprocal actions. They are reciprocating. That's the verb form. So, instead of saying those two sentences, Gerald gave Harry a present and Harry gave Gerald a present, which is a bit wordy, we could express this idea by just saying Gerald and Harry gave each other a present, or Gerald and Harry gave one another a present. In these last two sentences that I've just said, we used our reciprocal pronouns, okay? So Gerald did something to or for Harry, and Harry did the same thing to or for Gerald. And in modern usage, both one another and each other mean exactly the same thing. They could be used interchangeably. Our two reciprocal pronouns can be used for more than two people as well, as long as everyone in the group is doing the same thing for every other person, animal, or thing in the group. Okay, and here are examples. All the players on the team gave each other a hug. All the players on the team gave one another a hug. All right, so let's say there were 3 people on the team, player A, B, and C. If all the players on the team gave each other a hug, or everyone on the team gave one another a hug, then that means that player A hugged player B, player A hugged player C, and player B hugged player C. Everyone on the team hugged everyone on the team. And let's look at another example. Cary respects Joe. Joe respects Cary. These are reciprocal actions, so we could use our pronouns here and simply say Cary and Joe respect each other, or Cary and Joe respect one another. And each other and one another can also be possessive pronouns. For example, let's say Constance watches Melanie's kids, and Melanie watches Constance's kids. How could we simplify? How could we shorten this idea? Well, instead of writing two sentences like I've done, I could just say Constance and Melanie watch one another's kids, or Constance and Melanie watch each other's kids. Okay? Another example of the possessive form. Drew gets on my nerves. To get on someone's nerves means to annoy that person. Okay? So Drew gets on my nerves, and I get on Drew's nerves. We could put each other and one another in a possessive form and say that Drew and I get on each other's nerves. Each other's has that apostrophe S, which makes it possessive. Could also say Drew and I get on one another's nerves, right? So another has an apostrophe S on the end, making it possessive. Okay, so is there any difference between each other and one another? I mentioned earlier that you could use them interchangeably, right? For the most part, they mean the same thing. Although, one is slightly more formal, okay? One another is slightly more formal and less common in spoken English than each other. Each other, I would say, is a bit more common than one another. And some grammarians will put forth this idea that each other is used only when talking about two individuals, and when we have three or more, we use one another. This isn't really the case in modern usage. In most dictionaries like Merriam-Webster, Oxford, they will tell you that there's really no basis for this, and we English speakers use them interchangeably without regard for how many people. As long as there are two or more people, you can use each other or one another. And one another and each other are not only used for humans, they can also apply to our pets, our animals, okay? So I could say the fish were swimming with each other, or the fish were swimming with one another. I could say all the dogs were barking at each other, or all the dogs were barking at one another. And it doesn't just have to apply to living things. I could say the houses are facing each other, or the houses are facing one another. So it could apply to objects, to things. I could say the papers are touching each other, or the papers are touching one another. And just one more thing that I'd like to add about reciprocal pronouns is that the reciprocal pronoun always refers back to an antecedent. Okay? The antecedent must, of course, be plural. So for example, in the sentence, the papers are touching each other, the papers is the antecedent for each other, okay? It's what each other is referring to, okay? So we must have an antecedent with reciprocal pronouns. And it must be plural or maybe even some sort of collective noun. All right, English learners, that is the end of today's video on reciprocal pronouns. I hope you learned something, and you know what? It wasn't too hard of a lesson. Reciprocal pronouns are quite easy to understand, but if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. Feel free to subscribe to this channel for more English lessons. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and until next time, English learners.